Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got an awesome show lined up for you today. It's all about urban hunting, and Mr. Barry Cross is helping me co-host.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. You know, and we got turkey season coming up. The youth hunt's going to be April 5th and 6th,
Yep.
and then opening day is April 12th. So, you know, a lot of hunting's coming up right around the corner, and I wanted to mention, you know, if you didn't get that hunter education, there's still some time. There's still classes out there. So go online, look at tnwildlife.org, find a hunter ed class near you. I want to also say, anytime you got a young hunter or a new hunter, that in-person class is valuable.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can take it online now, but that in-person class is a good class to have.
Nothing like learning hands-on, right?
No, absolutely not.
Well, today it's all about hunting. I mentioned urban hunting, but we have Mr. Lee Ellis with us today from Seek One, which I'm excited to have in studio. I know if you follow this show, you follow hunting, you've probably seen him on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But, man, it's just great to have you in studio today.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I got to start off by saying y'all's intro is pretty awesome.
Thanks.
We were kind of joking earlier about my podcast, and it's like we don't got none of that. That was cool.
Well, if you don't know how to find Seek One, we'll throw this out here. Lee Ellis is the founder, but you can watch at Seek One Productions on YouTube, Seek Number One Productions on Facebook and Instagram, probably any podcast platform.
Yeah, we don't do too many podcasts, but we get them up randomly, so you just kind of get them as they come, I guess.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it. I love having conversations with people, so I'm excited to be here and just kind of talk about random nonsense. I'm really ADD, and there's a lot of really cool artifacts in this room.
Yeah.
So I'm like already just like looking around and just like, man, I have so many questions. But
Well, yeah, I mean, your story to me is interesting. Your background was really fishing, and someone introduced you to hunting, and that made a difference.
yeah, I'm probably the last person, I guess maybe you'd ever think that now would do this for a living, like that you'd ever guess, you know, like starting out as a 16-year-old, it's like, you know, I was just a kid from the city.
Mhm.
And my grandfather was just loved fishing. And so he's from a real small town where my dad's from in South Carolina. And we'd always go see them, you know, Easter, stuff like that. And so he would take me fishing. It definitely skipped a generation with my dad.
Mhm.
My dad moved to Atlanta, and he started doing like some small pizza restaurant type stuff. And he kind of did a bunch of different odd jobs, but landed on doing pizza restaurants. And it just skipped a generation with him. So like, you know, my dad loves sports. He loves the Braves. He loves all, you know, ate up with sports. But, you know, it was really my grandfather that every time we go see him, we would go fishing. And that was kind of my first, you know, love was, or at least introduction to the outdoors was fishing with my grandfather.
Right.
And then when I was old enough back home where my parents would let me walk to our neighborhood pond, you know, I kind of started doing it on my own there.
Mm-hmm. And then the hunting just kind of came around because of a friend, or
Yeah, I mean, so the hunting thing was, you know, I always loved the outdoors. You know, fishing was the first thing, but I was always interested in hunting. Didn't have any opportunities. You know, I didn't have like a family farm or anything like that. And my buddy Drew, I think it was like 8th grade. He transferred over to my school, and we were like in the same homeroom. And we actually, it's funny, we got detentions the first like 5 minutes of knowing each other.
we got a hooligan in here.
Yeah. So we just kind of became buds, and you know, he comes from a hunting family. They had a place in Georgia that his family had, and you know, we just became friends and had a little bit of hunting, you know, experiences at his place. You know, but it wasn't anything beyond just kind of going and having them like, hey, you know, you sit here. Like, it was not on my own at all.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until, you know, we were we were always driving to school really early in the mornings, and then we'd always have like football or baseball or something. And so we were driving home late at night. And it wasn't until, I was 16 and, honestly, it was probably, I guess it was 16. And I noticed like the first deer I ever saw. It's late at night. And, it was just like walking down a driveway. And I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, I just saw a deer. Wow. Like in Atlanta, I just saw a deer. Yeah. It's crazy, and, it was a cool thing. But then Drew and I were fishing, months later, and we were like below this pond dam or whatever, and there were rubs. It is obliterated. I mean, this place was like obliterated. I had no idea what it was. I didn't even know what a rub was. Drew's like, dude, oh my gosh, look at all these rubs. Like, these are huge. There's they're everywhere. Like, and I was like, I had nothing to kind of reference it to, so I didn't know it was a big deal. But he was like assuring me it was. There's just a lot of sign, and we just started kind of door knocking and sort of stumbled our way into it from there. But I just definitely shouldn't be in the hunting industry.
Well, I mean, that love, that interest that you got early on, I mean, that led you to camera work. That led you to YouTube, and I mean, how does one get into that? I mean, I've gone out and tried to shoot video myself. That's a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's not an easy thing, but you took it and made it more and more and more. I guess the biggest question I got is, urban hunting can't be easier than going and hunting anywhere else. It's got to be harder.
And then you're trying to film it. Yeah.
So I never really will. I would never say one is more difficult than the other. They all have their own different sets of challenges because, I started in the suburban stuff. I've done a lot more since, and I've experienced a lot of different styles of hunting, have dabbled more in public land a little as of late, and in a lot of different states too. So I've kind of branched out from the suburban small property game, and there's massive challenges on both sides. Right. There's definitely advantages to suburban hunting, tight funnels, things like that. But there's also advantages to public and not having that kind of gateway of like, I've got to get somebody to tell me, yes, I can hunt before I can hunt. You can just hunt. Yeah. That was one of the beauties of it.
That's what I thought was the biggest challenge for any kind of urban thing. I mean, there's a lot of deer in urban areas.
Oh yeah.
But getting that permission is difficult.
It's like if you can put the work in and unlock the right areas, it can be those like honey holes that you hear about.
Yeah.
But again, it's like there are so many dynamics on the urban side that you just don't have to deal with, like in the rural and public stuff. That's why I've honestly been more drawn to more rural and more like public land type stuff as of late, because I'm literally just like almost exhausted from like all the
can imagine
drama of the small property game.
Well, that's
stuff.
a lot of travel. I mean, scouting on small urban areas seems like it would be a nightmare because you got to find them.
Yeah.
But when you go to public land, it's kind of like wide open for you.
That's what I've enjoyed the most about just like trying some different public is like you kind of get the adventure back. You miss that in the urban stuff because it's like you get an acre and you're like, yeah, we got an acre, and it's like you can explore it in like 5 seconds. So it is always intriguing to like put a camera out and see what's using coming through that 1 acre. Right. But the adventure that you lack that adventure in the suburbs. You kind of gain that. And that's what I've loved the most about doing some of the public stuff is like, you can just go and go and go. And it's the addiction on the public thing is more like you found a good area and you're exploring. It's like, but what's over there? You just like, I'm going to go check over there.
Better, yeah.
And then it's like, I'm going to, I'm going to check over here. And it's like the adventure of just kind of the exploration, I guess. So it's the suburban stuff is not for everybody. I didn't choose to be born in Atlanta. I just happened to be born there, and we kind of made the most of what we had. You said like the love of it earlier, and it's like I think the love is the same for pursuing wildlife and hunting. And even though it's like you're still hearing leaf blowers and stuff all around, you're still able to get lost a little bit and get away from the like craziness of the city a little bit, you know, in the small property game. But like the love for pursuing animals and that chase, like that's something that I think you're born with. You know, I just happened to be born in Atlanta as to some guy that was born in some other state that hunts public, or, you know, whatever, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum for hunting. It's like, I think we were born with the same passion.
Yeah.
We just happen to be born in different places and different backgrounds, you know, things like that. But yeah, I would never, if someone asked me that which one's harder, I don't have an answer. It's totally dependent on the situation, and there's pros and cons to both.
Well, speaking of public, talk about the 188 inch deer that I mean, that was amazing how you got up on that deer and just to see so tight, so close. I know you can't tell the whole story because it's, you know, it's long. I watched the whole video, but it was just amazing to watch you get that close and that tight to that deer and wait on him to get up, you know?
Yeah,
it's tough.
That was, I mean, it's hard to pick one, but that has to be probably my favorite, like, whitetail hunt of my life. I think part of it is a lot of our style has been, and that's kind of where we got the name. It's part of where the name Seek One comes from. Is like we really love telling the story of one deer and like what it takes, the effort and time to go all in on like one animal. And on the flip side, the public land deer was like, I knew that deer for a few hours and that was it. I knew nothing about him.
Yeah.
And it's just like an experience that I've never had yet. And it was like the credit goes all to Cody Cooper. He was the camera guy that captured it all. Like what he captured was amazing. And I didn't realize what had happened. I knew I'd shot the deer, but I didn't know what that he had like captured.
He got it all. Yeah.
And so when he showed me after, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like got to be some of the best footage I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And like credit 100% goes to him. But that one just meant something different to me. Just, it was like, you know, you're stepping outside your comfort zone a little bit, going on public land. I don't have a ton of experience on public. It's mostly been door knocking stuff, but to kind of stumble into that and like, it was so unexpected. It just sort of was a different like feeling in a sense. It's kind of hard to describe. 'Cause like when you're chasing one deer, it's like you kind of build a relationship in a sense, like a romance in a sense, like with that deer. And it's like, you know what you're chasing, you know what you're after,
you know where his home is, where he's feeding.
So like, you know, you have him on camera, like you're chasing that deer. So when you see him and you're like, if you cross paths with him and you take that deer, it's like, it's a very rewarding feeling to have put that much effort into that particular animal, but you're not surprised, you know, like you kind of know what he is. That deer was like, when I first saw him and I'm glassing him like across a canyon, like I knew he was a big deer, but I thought he was like a 160.
Yeah.
And then when we walked up on him, like just the shock of it all.
No shrinkage on that.
No, not at all. And, you know, it was just like the surprise of it. It was just, I don't know, it's a very different experience. And like that one moment I think is what we all, like every bow hunter dreams of, is like a spot and stalk on a deer like that. And it's like, I had it, I've experienced it. And it's like, now my level of addiction has gone even higher. Cause like, I want to live that one more time.
Yeah. I think that video really teaches a lot of people. I mean, it really educates on how to get around to the right side of the deer, play the wind. I mean, the way he was sitting in his head, you know, it's just amazing. I think just how you were able to pull that off. And like I said, having that much public land, it's easier to get around it. You know, it'd be different if you had an acre behind a house in a neighborhood. But yeah, man, it's awesome.
A lot of times those deer, like in the suburbs, if you see one like that, he's untouchable. You know, he's living on somewhere where it will never be hunted. But yeah, that one was like, it was the stars aligning on so many levels, because it was like the wind, the conditions and everything, like everything was perfect. And you know, it's like I've learned a lot in the small property stuff, door knocking stuff, and a lot of it does translate over. And so, you know, I knew my access is obviously going to be really important on getting in on that deer. So we, played the wind right, but we also kept, there was just like a little knob, and there was a couple of them, like little hills. And it was like, we just, used each hill and kept the little hill in between us and him. And we walked right to him. And it really only got hairy when we had to creep around the right side and get in this little ditch to get to the final spot where I was going to wait him out at. Mm-hmm. There was only like 10 yards there that was a little dicey. The whole rest of it, I could have been done jumping jacks to get right to him. But it was, seeing him, putting him to bed, and then studying a map, getting the right plan and the approach to get in on him. But the wind and rain, it was like, if you don't have that, good luck. It was like the stars aligning on multiple levels. But
like winning the lottery, you play so much, you lose a lot, but on this occasion, you were able to make it happen. So.
Yeah. I can't say that there wasn't a little bit of satisfaction in. My expectation was I was going to hunt like a 120, 130, like anything that just like got me excited. Mm-hmm. I wasn't chasing anything particular. It was just like, you see something you like, go after them.
Right.
And day and age of social media, like you get a lot of mixed opinions, and there were a lot of people that were like, this is actually really funny. I'll give you a very specific comment, not to get too in the weeds, but we did, I think it was when we did the Ohio video, someone left a comment that was like, I'm not impressed. Like the second that he kills any deer over 150 on public, I'll Venmo him $10,000 right now. And it was full of responses of people that were like, he just did that. Yeah. So there was a little bit of satisfaction of kind of being like proving some of the, kind of negativity wrong a little bit on that public land one. But I would say that like, that's not the fuel to my fire. Like I love deer hunting and I'm longing for different experiences. And that was kind of what that was just longing for something different, and like magic happened.
Well, we're going to, so we don't run out of time. I know we can't tell all the stories. You can go watch some of Lee's stuff, go watch all of it. It's all amazing. But talk about that Ohio deer.
Yeah.
That was private land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and it's a little bit different. It seemed more, you were on farms more than you were.
It was super rural
neighborhoods. Yeah. So touch on that one a little bit. Share with that.
Yeah. I mean, and I say like there's things that translate over across the board for deer and just their behaviors, their tendencies, things like that. There's, whether they're born in this environment, that environment, there are things that they are doing that they are born with. Now, obviously, there's different behaviors because of your surroundings. But deer, in my opinion, like they are always looking for the little nook and crannies where they can get where they're left alone. Avoiding pressure. Sometimes it's on public, like maybe it's really close to a road where people are going right by, and that little zone is just being left alone. Maybe it's going way deeper than everybody else, and it's like that deer's found this area that he's being left alone. The same thing applies in the suburbs. Same thing happens in rural places. In that particular case, it was mostly farmland. Pretty much every single place was hunted. I mean, this deer was hunted to death. There were, when you're driving around over there, you're seeing corn piles, ground blinds, stands, like everywhere. And I was always like,
it's a short season too, right?
It's a long season. It comes in October, but it goes into February.
Okay.
It's a pretty long season. And I don't know how long their gun season is, but I'm just like, I don't understand how this deer is alive, like in this area. Someone surely had to have gotten lucky. This deer wanders out, they got a rifle, like something follows a doe, like, but I was just like, I don't understand. This deer, like, must be smart.
He's just smart, yeah.
And he had a little nook and cranny place that he lived. And I think he spent a ton of his time there. I think all of the pressure from all these other farms that he was experiencing, it pushed him into this one little place. And it was a little peninsula on a river. And this old couple owned like 2 acres, 3 acres. And I drove by it 100 times. I mean, just out there door knocking. And it was just never a place that you would be like, yeah, that's where he's at. And it was an overlooked little nook and cranny place. And I knocked on the door. They'd never been asked. And I had no idea at the time, but that deer lived there. Like he was coming back to that peninsula. I don't know if it was every day, but it was most days for that time of year. And it was like, I think that was his little refuge where he could just like, if he had any bad experience, he'd go right back to that. And he was just so confident that he couldn't be touched there that like, you know, that was what kind of unlocked the key to that deer.
Yeah. Like 100 yards from the house, right? I
less.
mean, okay.
Probably less.
Wow.
Well, probably 100 yards as the crow flies from the house, but 50 yards from where their back lawn ended, pretty much. And so I mean, it's just like the same things, you know, like things I've learned growing up on the urban small property stuff have translated over to a lot of other places. And I think having a different approach or different lens, looking at things differently, you know, coming from the small property game, like some of my biggest deer have come on an acre, 2 acres that back up to obviously more. But seeing that 2 acre place, it was like, I've killed plenty of deer on properties that big. Like you could totally kill a deer there, and it happened there. So it was, I just think having the lens, maybe I just looked at a map a little bit different than the average guy that thinks that, you know, the bigger the property, the better it is. So,
well, I may be getting some stories mixed up here, but with that hunt, you got in there and then you were sneaking up the tree and
bumped him.
It bumped him. Yeah. So go watch that.
Yeah. I mean, I bumped him. To this day, I don't know if he really knew what it was.
Okay.
But I think that he was so confident there that he felt untouchable. That he's like, it doesn't matter if you come in on me and you bump me again. Like I'm gonna know when you're here. So I just think it was his spot where it's like, even if you're trying to get me, I'll see you before you can. So I'm gonna come back here. Like I know I'm safe. And you know, so the first time I went in, we bumped that deer. I don't know if he saw us, heard something, or like what it was, but yeah, first try we bumped him, and then the next one we got in super early and beat him coming back in to his bed.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
well, go watch these hunts. They're awesome.
I mean, to me, you're a humble guy. You
yeah, it really is.
You really have a lot of deer knowledge. Although you say, nah, you know, I don't. But you do, and you know, do you still see yourself learning, or are you at the point where you're passing along to other people, or?
Yeah, so I'm definitely trying to pass on as much as I can. I think the second you stop learning is the second you stop advancing and becoming a better hunter. Like I've always, it's kind of funny you say that. Like I will talk to, is actually a friend of mine, Bill Thompson, that told me this recently. He's like, you will talk to somebody as if you've never deer hunted before. And he's like, I never really knew this, but he's like, you ask a lot of questions and you're just like learning from other people. And so I don't have it all figured out. I do know a lot about deer, but I do not have them figured out. And I think the second you have that, you just kind of block that mentality of like, nah, I got it figured out. You know, I don't need to learn anymore from anybody else. Like that's the second you quit becoming a better hunter. Like I'm advancing and becoming better at every year. And it's because I'm hunting with other people that have more knowledge in other places. Like I hunted with some buddies in Pennsylvania, which is big woods, real mountainous. And it's like, I've only hunted there a couple times. I'm not going to roll into camp and be like, hey, you should go do this. I'm asking them questions like, hey, you know, what are you seeing deer do this time of year? Like, you know, trying to get information as much as I can. It's like, I think that being a sponge is like the most important thing with anything really that you want to master. Like I learned from these deer year after year after year of just like things they do. You know, they're like people and that they have personalities, and nobody is the same on planet Earth. Everyone's got different things that make them who they are. Deer are the same. I think that like I always like find a new deer that I kind of like pursue, and I'm like, why is he doing this? Like he's not doing what the last deer did. Like they're all kind of doing different things. I think their upbringings are different. So like things they've experienced them are causing certain different tendencies and things like that. But no, I think like being a sponge is probably one of the most important things, like to becoming a better hunter for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, tell us about your co-founders. You mentioned Drew, but Kendall as well.
Kendall, yeah.
Shout out those guys.
That just Kendall's like the team mom. You know, he's a little bit older. He's got kids and a wife. Drew's actually right now having his second child.
Awesome.
So he won't be up at the show that we got going on. But Drew and I became friends in 8th grade. Just kind of started the door knocking thing, and then there used to be some this was really before Facebook and social media. There was just online forums. So we'd always go to these forums, and it was a very small group of guys that did the suburban hunting at the time. Kendall was one of them. Another guy, Jay Maxwell, was another one of them, and just kind of exchanging messages on this forum, just hit it off and became friends, and just kind of shared that bond of hunting and doing the small property game. And there's a big network of us now that all do it. And it's really fun just to tell stories and hear stories and stuff. But again, ADD, I jump around a lot. But back to your point of with picking up a camera and filming hunts, Drew is really creative, and he was we both kind of were there were crazy stories that were happening in the suburbs, and it was something you'd never seen on TV or anything like that. It was man, we've got to tell one of these stories. These stories are really cool. Yeah. And so Drew bought a camera and was I'm going to document you hunting for a year, and posted our first kind of trailer video, and it was received well, and it kind of snowballed from there. So
wow, what year was that again?
2015. So we're coming up on 10 years now, which is cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I think it's awesome, and how you're branching out into new properties and public land, and we didn't get to it, but the master class, you can find that on your website, sequinproductions.com.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. The master class where they're sharing this information with everybody, just getting it out. So
door knocking is it takes a lot of confidence, and we just give some pointers on how to be confident in door knocking.
Yeah.
So
I think it's awesome. And then the Venison Project, thevenisonproject.org, go check that out.
Yep.
Y'all did had a session or a powwow here in Tennessee this past year.
We did. Yeah.
So I think that's cool. That was awesome.
Yeah, we want to donate deer and feed people in need.
Yeah.
From some of these overpopulated places. So that's kind of the nonprofit we run to do that.
He's a real nice guy, isn't he?
Very nice, yeah.
I'll be honest, I thought this was a sting operation. Hey guys, come on into the DNR office. We just want to talk.
Just want to talk.
No, I think a lot of parents, kids respect you. I mean, you got a great, what's the word I'm looking for? You look great online. I mean, you got that good example for good kids, presence, good presence, for kids, adults, and everybody. So I appreciate what you're doing online.
Thank you.
It could be a lot worse. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. So
for sure, we try to do it the right way, the best we can. Yeah. We're not perfect, but we try our best.
Yeah, so it's good stuff. Well, this is Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep coming back, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.